Start with Bansuri Swaraj. The BJP has been making these claims, Mr. Malviya, other spokespersons and leaders in your party have been making this claim that Access Now, which is mentioned in this threat notification, is linked to George Soros. This entire thing was orchestrated, funded by George Soros. On what basis are you making that claim?
I think before I answer that, let me just get into the heart of the meat of the matter itself. So, Jaka, as you know, this is going to turn out to be another Pegasus 2.0. You know, even 2021, the opposition had accused the BJP of snooping, and a Supreme Court investigative committee was set up. And what was found by the Supreme Court was that not a single opposition device had the Pegasus software. In fact, there might have been traces of certain malware which can be attributed to the internet browser history of the opposition, which made them susceptible to cyber attacks. Now, similarly, if you remember, yesterday, when this particular alert sent, I have with me a document which I've downloaded from the Apple support. So this is the company document, because the opposition, I know, that keeps on, sometimes they rely on what Apple alerts are, but then they say that Apple has not issued any clarification. And before I answer on Soros, this is very important. The last line of the company document says, detecting such attacks relies on threat intelligence signals that are often imperfect and incomplete. It's possible that some Apple threat notifications may be false alarms, and this is Apple's document. This is easily available on their website. This is it's about Apple threat notifications and protecting against state-sponsored attacks. Now, answering the questions on George Soros. See, it is very well known that Soros has been trying to undermine Indian democracy, and his hatred and his dissent qua the Modi government is very, very obvious. The statement made by Mr. Amit Malviya today, which you even read out, the fact that there is not only Soros connection, but there is also the Umidyar connection of funding, all of these are very, very serious allegations. They're not merely hogwash. The government of India is extremely serious about security protocols as well as privacy. And therefore, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, the Honorable Union Minister, has already said that the Indian government is going to go to the bottom of it and is going to investigate. They have even asked Apple to join the investigation with all the relevant material.
Okay.
What Mr. Malviya has said today is also something very serious that needs to be investigated on this particular aspect. It is not just that Apple sent out these alerts to the opposition leaders in India. 150 countries, individuals from 150 countries received these alerts. But once again, if you remember, and I know this reporting was from your channel itself, Apple's statement was that Apple does not attribute the threat notification to any specific state-sponsored attacker, which means this alert was not based either on the identity of the attacker or on the source of the attack.
Okay, so let me ask Mohan Kumaramangalam, and let me walk up to the wall. Mohan Kumaramangalam, the contention is this: forget about George Soros or any other entity. Why should Apple, which is the world's leading phone manufacturer, have to depend on an NGO for its tech support? This is a technical problem. Many of these MPs have received a tech notification from Apple saying you are potentially going to be the victim of a state-sponsored attack. Please explain to our viewers, how can an NGO be the go-to for the world's most premier technology company for a tech problem on their platform, on their devices?
Zaka, first, I don't think Apple has outsourced its tech support, and I think you're making a leap of faith there based on one assumption made by Mr. Amit Malviya, who put it out there. Let me say that this isn't the first threat notification that Apple has actually sent out. Apple and Google both sent a similar threat notification back in 2021, right after Apple actually sued Pegasus, sued NSO, the maker of Pegasus, for what happened and the exposure that the Apple devices had to take when the Pegasus scandal broke out. It instituted this mechanism of threat notifications. Now, when you're sending threat notifications, there is a certain threshold, I imagine, that Apple would use to actually send these out. Otherwise, you would be creating on a much more regular basis. You would have to imagine that Apple saw something here which made it send this particular notification out, considering the last one they sent was 2 years ago. Now, obviously, you cannot, with a 100% definitive way say that this particular threat has come from someplace. But, Bansuri very elegantly read out one part of the sentence and left the other one out, where Apple says that it's because state-sponsored hacks are incredibly sophisticated and hard to detect. That is why they can't be sure, and they can't actually talk about the source of the attack. She also talked a lot about Pegasus. She actually said this is Pegasus 2.0. I agree with her. Just like in Pegasus 1.0, where she just chose to say that the Supreme Court said that there was no Pegasus on devices, one of the things that the Supreme Court did not do, even though the justices presiding said in open court that they would like to do, is release the detailed report, the investigative report, because there are dissenters in that report, one of whom actually came out, I think it was Arvind Narayanan, who came out and said that for the journalist phones, 2 journalist phones that he examined, he found that there were Pegasus on them. And you need an independent third party like Amnesty Labs or international safety cybersecurity organizations to look at the methodology followed in that particular report. For some reason, the report was never made public. And till date, we don't have a definitive answer. Let me also say that any tech product which is designed to do snooping or which is designed to be intrusive will never be able to be detected with 100% because they pride themselves on the fact that they don't leave any digital signature when they're conducting this.
But you still haven't answered the question I asked, which is, why would the world's biggest phone manufacturing company, tech company, outsource its tech support to an NGO? But be that as it may, let me go to, just give me 1 second, Mohan, because, 1 second, let me go to Arvind Gupta, because, he's got limited time on the debate tonight. So, Arvind Gupta, the fundamental issue is here. I don't think most people care whether Soros is linked or XYZ is linked. The point is, were these opposition members the victims of a state-sponsored attack or not? And B, there is one very basic question that all of them are asking is, why is it that 95% of them happen to be from the opposition? Even in the case of Pegasus, I think about 170, 175 people were quote-unquote allegedly snooped upon, including union ministers, people in government, people who have nothing to do with politics as well. But in this case, it's by and large only opposition leaders. Why is that? Isn't that suspicious is the question they're asking. Arvind Gupta.
Well, let me start by saying, I've had the pleasure of working with Apple very closely in the past, and Apple doesn't outsource these activities so easily and does not disclose how it does this threat intelligence in the current scenario that we are in today. But I'll make some 4 or 5 points. The opposition leaders also have to explain why they have been so casual with their own cybersecurity. I know one of them has gone on record saying that she, casually shared her login ID and password with I don't know how many people. You have to understand, Jacob, that there is this originates from, it could originate from anywhere. If you have traveled to a suspicious territory, you remember the times you used to travel outside, credit cards used in certain countries, you would get an alert the moment you returned back. So origination of this system, and that is what Apple has to really participate, and the union minister has already talked about, that they have to come and say whether this originated, what was the timing it originated in. But, they're probably setting out this new threat intelligence system, and they've sent out, they saw some suspicious activities. Maybe, their login IDs are being, done from India, from outside India, from Middle East and many places else in a very short period of time. They have some malware that is installed. There is a bunch of things that go into threat intelligence like this. And as Mohan rightly said, I mean, this is a very sophisticated process.